So what's going on, people? Welcome back to CBC, Caribbean Black Community. So today, I want to talk about something that happened recently with my daughter that genuinely made me stop and think. Now, before I get into it, this isn't one of those videos where I'm trying to attack teachers. It's not about blaming every school, every institution, or every white person. That's not what this conversation is about. What this is about, though, is understanding how children experience the world and how they recognize fairness and unfairness, and how some of those experiences can shape them as they grow older. So my daughter is 8 years old. She came home from school recently and said something that caught me completely off guard. While it shouldn't have, but it did. She said, "Daddy, I felt bad for a boy in my class." Now, immediately I was surprised because this wasn't her friend. In fact, this was a boy who had caused her problems before, just a few months ago. A boy she had described as a bully. So naturally, I asked her, "Why do you feel bad for him?" And what she told me next really made me think, and proud at the same time. She said she overheard a teacher talking about the boy. And according to her, the teacher suggests that the reason he was behaving the way he was behaving was because he was a black boy. Now, let's pause there for a moment, yeah? So first of all, none of us know the full context of what that conversation was. Children don't always hear every details. So I'm not sitting here claiming to know exactly what was said or what was intended, right? But what struck me wasn't even the teacher. What struck me was my daughter's reaction, because this wasn't her friend. This wasn't somebody she liked. Yet she felt sorry for him. She felt that he was being judged unfairly. And at 8 years old, think about that. An 8-year-old child looked at that situation and thought, that doesn't seem right. Now, not because someone told her to think that way, not because she had a book on race relations, not because she had attended a seminar, but because she instinctively recognized what she felt was unfair treatment. And it could easily be her as well. And that got me thinking about something much bigger. Because when we talk about young black boys in Britain, we often start paying attention when they are teenagers. We notice them when they are getting excluded. We notice them when they are stopped by police. We notice them when they are struggling in school. We notice them when they are angry in gangs. We notice them when they are frustrated. But how often do we ask ourselves, when did that frustration begin? Because maybe it doesn't begin at 14 or 15 or 16. Maybe it doesn't begin at 18 either. Maybe sometime it begins when you're 8 years old or even before. Maybe it begins when you're sitting in a classroom and you realize that people don't always see you as an individual. So maybe it begins when assumptions are made about you before you have even opened your mouth. Maybe it begins when your behavior is interpreted differently from someone else. And over time, those experiences add up. And a lot of people see a grown black man who appears defensive, guarded, are distrustful of authority and immediately ask, why is he like that? But perhaps a better question is, what experiences shape him into becoming that person? Because nobody wakes up one day and suddenly develop this distrust. Experiences create experiences create perspectives. Experiences create beliefs. Experiences create reactions. And here's something else that stood out to me. My daughter wasn't speaking from hatred. She wasn't angry. Maybe she was little bit. She wasn't trying to divide people. She simply recognized that another child was being treated in a way that didn't feel fair. And she had empathy for him. Even though he wasn't nice to her in the past, that's a powerful lesson, because empathy is becoming increasingly rare in today's world. And everybody wants to pick a side. Everybody wants to win an argument. Everybody wants to prove a point. But very few want to understand another person's experiences. Now let's be clear. Not every disagreement is racism. Not every difficult situation is discrimination. Not every teacher is biased. But most teachers work incredibly hard and genuinely care about children. But if we are serious about helping young black boys succeed, we also have to be willing to be honest and have honest conversations. We have to be willing to ask difficult questions. Are some children being misunderstood? Or some behaviors being interpreted differently, depending on who displaying them? Are stereotypes still influencing expectations? And if they are, what impact does that have on a child over a course of 10 or 15 years? Because children observe more than we realized. They hear conversations, they notice reaction, they feel energy, they observe body language, they recognize who gets the benefit of the doubt and who doesn't. And those experiences can leave a lasting impression. And one thing I've learned as a father is that children are constantly watching. Even when we think they are not paying attention, they are watching, they are listening, they are learning. And sometimes they see things that adults miss. And it's sad that my little daughter recognized that, have to recognize that unfairness of the world and how the world is. Because even if the little boy is being hyper, just being a little boy, that's how boys are. Not because he's a black boy. It's just because he's a boy. Why act like that? Not because he's a black boy. And for a teacher to say that, a teacher they're meant to be of authority in an institution that a child spend most of the days. Don't wonder why you see a black boy, not just black boy, but black girls, black women, black men grew up in this country, in this society, feeling angry and feeling have to be defensive all the time with the system, because the system doesn't protect them. The system judge them from before they even do anything, from judge them from the innocent little child. You can imagine a little 8-year-old boy just being a little 8-year-old boy. And because he's black, you're gonna class him being extra rude because he's black. No. And I'm so proud of my daughter to recognize that unfairness, even though she shouldn't have to see that. That's a future leader right there, but I'm really proud of her, but it shouldn't have reached that stage. And she shouldn't have to go through that. So my daughter saw something that day that made her uncomfortable, something that challenged her sense of fairness. And it made me realize that perhaps we don't listen to children enough when they are trying to tell us how they experience the world around them. We need to listen more. As a father of a black daughter and soon a father of a black son, these are the kinds of conversations that stay with me, because I want my children to grow up confident. I want them to believe in themselves, doesn't feel less than. And this is, and that's something that will create that doubt in the head if they're going through that from early out. I feel like they're less than someone else because of someone else's ignorance or fear. I want them to respect authority when authority deserves respect. But I also want them to know that their value doesn't depend on another people's assumption. Their word doesn't depend on stereotype. And their identity should never be reduced to a label. At the end of the day, though, every child deserves to be seen as an individual, not as a stereotype, not as a statistic, not as a category. An individual, just a little black boy, just a little boy. Why are you going to class him as a little black, or he's behaving that way as a black boy? Because of what you're... And maybe that's the lesson my 8-year-old daughter was trying to teach me. Sometimes people with the smallest voices notice the biggest truth. And let me know what you think in the comments, people. Okay, this one is a heavy one for me. Have you ever experienced something similar in school, at work, growing up in Britain? Do you think young black boys and girls are sometimes misunderstood? Or do you think the society has improved significantly in this area? I think it's kind of getting worse now with with more information available. Obviously, you have kids a bit more together with each other, but because of social media, but more information they have, the I don't know. I genuinely like to hear your thoughts though, because this is a hard one for me. Until next time, this is CBC. And before I go, my daughter, I'm so proud of her. She was adamant that she wanted to make it known. She wanted to be anonymous. She said she wanted to write a secret letter to the school, and but then she changed. After having a conversation with her, she decided to speak to her teacher, or her normal teacher, because this teacher that it happened to wasn't her teacher for her class. It was just a teacher from another class. So she wanted to express this with her teacher because she have a trust. And bear in mind that other teacher was a white lady as well, and she said she wanted to speak to that teacher, and because it was on her mind, she was talking about it constantly for a week. But even though I was trying to let her, saying that she shouldn't be dwelling on it too much, because it will basically make her even more angry and more sad. And she was keep on thinking about it, and she decided that she wanted to speak to her teacher about it, and she did. Even though she mentioned to her teacher she wanted her name to be left out of it. So she was even have the consciousness, the awareness to, she wanted to speak up against injustice, but she'd know what the stigma, what would the consequence of that would be for her. She would be judged even more as someone that looking for trouble. And you see why a lot of people even an adult doesn't talk up more about racism. If an 8-year-old can know that she will be unfairly be criticized for something she's speaking the truth about, and she don't want, and because of she just want me to be there with her just to give her that extra support and confidence to speak to the teacher, and she did. Even when I pick her up, she went to the teacher and she said. And the next morning, the teacher sent her mom a text telling her that she have mentioned it to the head teacher, and they will have a conversation with all the staff to remind them that certain behaviors is not acceptable. But I'm really proud of my daughter, but it just shows some of the root of some of the problems of our people in this country, how early it starts. Because even when I was having a conversation about it with my daughter, she asked me, did I experience it in Jamaica? And I said, not really. I don't really experience racism because the majority, 90%, I grew up in Jamaica, so 90% of the Jamaican population is black. So you're not going to really get that much. You get other problems. And she asked me, like, what type of problems? So other problems like bullying still exist. But, for example, racism is not something that I experienced like that as a kid. So I was fortunate enough to grow up in a society where, you don't feel less than because of the color of your skin. You maybe feel less than because of what your family, doesn't own in terms of class, but not because for money, but not for your color of your skin. And she was like, "Oh, I want to live in Jamaica." You can imagine that. But it's sad. But I explained all of the thing. I tried my best to explain it to her that this is a majority, is over 80% of this country is white. So you will get there's something that you will get constantly throughout your life. I shouldn't be having these conversations, but it's just something that you have to have with her. But let me know. I would like to hear your genuine thoughts on this issue. Until next time, this is CBC. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. And these are the reason why I create this channel as well, to have these conversations, to express, because I've seen it over the years since I've been in this country almost 20 years, and I've seen it with all the black people, kids that I've seen growing up in front of me, black people that I'm associated with, how that grew up in this country, how they have a certain type of mentality and mindset, and you can, and this is like one of the reason why you'll see a black boy on the street and he just angry for no reason because he doesn't trust the system, and he's been getting the system, somebody in the system or the system itself been telling them that they're not good enough because of the color of the skin from early. Imagine you growing up all your life with that type of feeling, obviously, and you're gonna put us on us. Oh, the angry black man, the angry black woman. Come on now. But I want to hear your thoughts. But bless up again and respect manners.